Welcome back. Well, although the police have been in the firing line, they haven't been the main target of the riots. What has made the events of this week so different from what has gone before is that the primary target of those on the rampage has been sportswear and electrical shops. It has spawned a new phrase, aggressive shopping. One London looter, his name is Slick, told us why he thinks it's OK to do aggressive shopping.
I was chucking bottles and bricks. Fighting the police, it was madness. Someone broke a window, the T-Mobile store, and a load of guys ran in, and I was one of the guys who ran in. I grabbed a few phones and I was out there. I kind of saw the opportunity. The windows were open. I went inside. They can afford to have a loss like that. For me, it was more to do with the police, more to do with issues that I have with them. And it brought quite a few gangs together. It was violence and it was a riot, but they united over one thing which we normally would not do.
Well, a justification that will surely stick in the craw of our next guest this evening. Patricia Fisher lives, or should I say lived, in Tottenham above a Carpetright store. Patricia, thanks indeed for coming to talk to us. It was burnt out. You were burnt out of your home, weren't you?
Yeah, we were burnt out of our homes. It was like we were under siege, basically. It was just horrible. Like nothing that I've experienced before or want to experience ever again. It was horrible.
Could you believe this could happen in modern Britain?
Well, not really, no. It was like, I mean, seeing all the people outside, it was just surreal. It was just, I don't know, it was like we were watching it on the TV. It was just like watching it on the TV, like some kind of action-packed film or something. It wasn't like it was real. Even now, it still feels like it's not real.
What would you say to the rioters that put you out of your home and all those others in that building?
Well, they obviously weren't thinking about what they were doing. I believe they knew that people were in the building because my fiancé was shouting down to them saying that, you know, people live here, there are people up here. And I know another family, they were shouting down as well, and they were just told F off, basically. So they knew exactly what they were doing. But it was just obviously mindless.
And could the police protect you? Did they do enough in your view?
There were no police there whatsoever. We all had to get out by ourselves. People were knocking on doors saying, get out, get out. My other half phoned the fire brigade. They said, can you get out? He said, I think so. And then when we went into the communal area on the corridor, it was like black smoke everywhere, just bellowing all over the place. And everybody was like a mass exodus. Everybody was just running out of their flats and just to get out of the building. And when we got out of the building, we looked at the side of the building. I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. It was just flames everywhere.
Well, Patricia, thank you very much indeed for joining us and sharing your terrifying story. We wish you all the best for salvaging what you can in the time you've got. Thank you very much indeed. Well, whilst the capital was hit first and hardest, copycat riots like those we've already seen in Birmingham erupted up and down the country. Scores were arrested after looting and running battles across Greater Manchester.
Toughened glass, screaming alarms and rolling cameras weren't enough to put them off. Like a plague of locusts, they cleaned out store after store in Manchester. And where metal screens resisted bricks and poles, one young thug went in with a different weapon. The crowd cheered him for it.
Welcome to Manchester.
The police say they were overwhelmed, though not every looter got away. In neighbouring Salford, rioters laughed at those trying to protect property and lives. Many spectators thought waving goodbye to cars, shop goods and buildings was some kind of joke. Those cleaning up failed to see the humour. Windows can be quickly repaired. Peace of mind for those looking on is harder to restore.
Rob Smith reporting now. We're joined now down the line from Manchester by Sir Richard Leese, the leader of Manchester City Council. Thank you indeed for joining us. A difficult time for your city. What's the mood like there on the streets tonight?
We've certainly got a lot more police officers on the street, and it's been very quiet in Manchester so far tonight, although there has been some minor disturbance next door in Salford. Clearly we're hoping that we do get things under control tonight, that we restore public order, and then to restore public confidence we do have to catch the perpetrators and make sure that they're prosecuted and punished.
And the community has been swift to help in the clear-up. We've seen that in London too.
If we want to make a comparison about what sort of society this is, we've had far more people out this morning cleaning up the mess than we had causing the mess in the first place. I think that says something about the sort of place Manchester really is, but it does mean we do have to deal with these criminals who, not only are they criminal, they are attacking their own communities.
Sir Richard Leese, we wish you all the best this evening. Thank you very much indeed. Well, across London, Birmingham and Manchester and beyond, people are asking just how could this happen? David Cameron has previously referred to broken Britain. Today he went further, saying there are pockets of our society that are not just broken but sick. So what can be done about it? Well, to discuss this, I'm joined by Colin Breen, former RUC police officer in Ulster, who's furthest away from me, Harriet Sargent from the Centre of Policy Studies, and Gifford Barrett from the Foundation for Life, a charity which works to keep youngsters away from crime. Thanks indeed all three of you. Gifford, if I can come to you first, how do you reach this generation that is perceived to be lost and part of this sick society that David Cameron has described?
I mean, one of the things to bear in mind is that we're talking about predominantly children at the end of the day. So much of the talk has been about them as criminals and thuggery and wanton criminality, but you've got to remember that they are children. And this is a society that has been bred and created this type of idea. We need to look at how we can engage these young people and actually identify the needs that they have and address those needs appropriately.
And how do you engage them? Some of them seem to just want to shun every possible moral argument, if you like, from what we've seen on the streets.
Well, one of the things is it starts with all the different pillars of society playing a role in that, starting from the family, but also the schools and the education system, and also the wider community in general, all playing a role in trying to engage the young people. What we've ended up with is a society, a generation of young people that are disengaged from their community.
OK, Harriet, if I can turn to you, that engagement is not just an issue about society at large or even the community, is it? A lot of people are saying, where are the parents in this?
Well, I spent about a year interviewing black, Caribbean and white working class boys, the very boys that we now see turning our streets into...
There are plenty of girls out there too.
And, well, I've also done a report on girls as well, so I've interviewed both these groups, and they are... I mean, what I get from both of them is complete despair because they have had appalling education, they have come out with absolutely no qualifications, and they can't get jobs. So they say to me, you know, what is there for us? There's nothing for us. And while we are just warehousing large numbers of young people, we are going to get scenes like we've been seeing.
Colin Breen, what's your view on this? You have been at the sharp end of very tough policing. Does it need to get tougher? Is there perhaps space for less understanding rather than more, in your view?
Well, I think that you can understand the core problems, but at the end of the day, when the problem presents itself in the street and people are losing their jobs, their businesses, people's lives are endangered, including the police officers and indeed all the members of the public who are there, some robust action must be taken and taken quickly to stop it spreading further.
Has community policing failed, do you think? I mean, there have been all sorts of reviews and inquiries about how police engage with difficult areas of society.
Well, there's very often a lot of talk about engaging with communities, and a lot of work has been done. But the problem is there is a core element out on the streets in any city, anywhere virtually in the world, who will take advantage of whatever perhaps genuine reasons people originally had for feeling the need to make a protest. There's a difference between protest and riot and destruction.
How do you make this a matter of government? I'd be interested in your views on this. It's obvious that the government is planning to make some sort of announcement tomorrow, but when we're talking about our moral laxity, people look at Parliament and say, look at the expenses scandal, look at the banks, look at the journalists who've hacked phones. Why should young people even begin to engage with anything the government puts out?
I mean, one of the problems is that the government hasn't actually set any clear strategies for supporting and developing young people through this transition into adulthood. Simply blaming it on the police service is not enough. You know, huge cuts in youth services and in facilities available for young people, and also in the guidance and the mentoring that they need to make that transition. That is what's failing as well.
But is it really a matter for government? This is bread and butter kitchen table stuff, isn't it?
Well, I think a lot of the problems that we have right now have been actually caused by the last government, and that a lot of this has just been caused by government policy giving the wrong incentives. And if this can be changed, and if it's caused by wrong incentives, then we can change it and make it a lot better.
Parents have to listen too, though, don't they?
Yeah, I think
And take some
parents
responsibility.
very much have to listen. But what we have, many of all the boys in the gang that I've befriended, their parents are all very young single mothers. And again, they've been given completely the wrong incentives by the government, where the only way that they can become an independent grown-up is by having a baby.
OK, Colin, you were nodding in agreement there.
Well, I do agree with that. I mean, parents must play a role. I mean, if you're going to become a parent, there is an obligation upon you to look after your children and do something to give them some sort of guidance. But this business of, you know, the government, the police or anyone else, or indeed agencies, and certainly they can be helped by agencies, but it's not sufficient. It does start at home before they're even old enough to go out the door on their own. A basic core value must be instilled by parents so that when these children get older and get out to mingle with their friends and do that, they know that it's wrong to do certain things.
I know. Well, there's a lot of big questions that we know that all sorts of people will be asking tonight, and a lot for the government to get to grip with. Thank you very much, all three, for joining us this evening. Thank you. We appreciate your time. Well, today, police forces across the country have issued images of those they want to question about looting and other disturbances. If you recognise anyone, please call the number on the screen now. Don't forget to join me and Mark Austin on News at 10 later on tonight, and I'll be back with another special edition of Tonight tomorrow evening. In the meantime, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Good night.